Welcome back to the Hollow Table Games Network. I'm Ginger Joey.
And hi, I'm Corey. I'm your friend till the end.
What is that?
It was very, very badly done. Good guy catchphrase.
Oh, the doll or whatever it was. Is that like a Chucky
Yeah,
reference?
that would be a Chucky reference. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, the good guy
Yeah.
doll that then Chucky kind of
Yeah.
replaces. Okay, cool. Well
Yeah. I
done.
couldn't. I
Sticking with
couldn't
the
figure.
Halloween theme. Okay, I like it. I like it. All
I
right.
thought about going with good guy Corey, and it just didn't flow as well. So I was like, yeah,
Well,
we'll just do it this way.
it was also the voice kind of creeped me out a little bit, so that worked.
Very good. Very good. All right.
All right, so this weekend we had kind of a big weekend as we had not only the sectors for the limited, we also had the regionals out in Spain. So we have some big numbers to hit and display for you guys, and also some analysis to look at from that perspective. So let's get right into where did it go? Bueller. There you go. That's the website we're looking for. So tournament
Perfect.
results, according to Competitive Hub. So as you can see from this, we are looking at a Mother Towson taking down the regional qualifier. Did you get a
Yeah.
chance to watch any of this, Corey?
I did not, unfortunately. Was a bit busy both yesterday and today. Didn't get a chance, but I definitely do need to watch some of these matches on replay just to see what they look like because I hear there were some good ones. I hear you were watching some of it though, right?
I did, in fact, watch pretty much most of the top eight and caught a couple of the stuff in between that. So I did see the matchups in the top four here. And you'll see some names that you are probably familiar with seeing, especially if you follow any of the European circuit. SIP is a very accomplished name going out there. Also, Betten is the galactic champion, the current running champion, who I find kind of ironic that Mother Talzin won and he was not playing Mother Talzin, so he lost kind of to his own deck. And that can be reflected in looking and comparing the two decks together. Because I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that a lot of people thought Mother
Yeah.
Talzin was dead with Force Throw going away. And I really kind of shows that it wasn't. It just kind of takes a little tweaking, a little playing differently sometimes. This is the deck list of Bettens from Worlds. And I'm going to flash over to the one that won regionals. Now, the biggest thing, they're by and large the same deck card for card. I think there's about five decks that got swapped around. You'll notice like a Shamsandula is in the main instead of the side only.
Yep.
You lost the Kiadumundi in the main for the blue Kiadumundi that costs five that gets you more cards. And I think that that is reflective of the meta changing and Han 1 coming back and the fact that I think you're going to be able to see a lot more ramp quicker. So I think that was a good meta call. The other biggest thing is this no disintegrations is what replaced force throw.
Mhm.
And I also think that was a very good choice, and I'm surprised it wasn't in the deck to begin with, to be perfectly honest, in Bettens. Force Throw is a very good card, but I think the versatility of no disintegrations and the ability to like universally take down anything of any health for a low investment cost, especially in Mother Talzin, is pretty big.
Yep. And I agree on that 100%. I mean, I've said this before on the channel. I've messed around with Talzin for a bit myself. I brought that to Galactics. No Disintegrations was definitely a card I messed with early on. It just didn't end up quite having the space to stick around. Talzin particularly obviously makes it very good because you can get them down to one, and then Talzin's -1/-1 kills it. So it's a pretty easy kill of basically anything big out there for three costs. The one con that it had to it is the fact it doesn't hit leaders, but there's ways around that, so it's not the end of the world. But that's the one negative it has, I would say, over Force Throw. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a very good card for Talzin, particularly. So yeah, this looks like a still a solid deck. I mean, I mentioned this before. I had some problems with Talzin with my Poe deck just recently too. So it's still a good deck out there. I think it's still going to keep performing. I don't know if it's going to see. I mean, yeah, it's weird where we're at right now. I think that's worth mentioning. Is just on the greater meta side. It's we've only got 2 weeks left in this meta. How much more is going to change? What else is going to happen? I'm kind of curious to see. But before we go too much further into the greater meta, Joey, anything additional on regionals? Anything else that stuck out to you as you were playing or as you were watching?
Not too much. I mean, I did see a lot of the standard things that we have been seeing in the past. I think the biggest thing that was an interesting one, which we'll touch on a little bit later, is the two Thrawn data vaults that hit the top
Yep.
eight. So a little bit of an up and comer, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning we did have a Quinlan Tarkin Town make the top 16. So again, that deck's not completely dead either. It's still got some life in it. It just took a bit of a hit and needs a little bit of rebuilding post force throw. But that is very much a deck that we could be seeing making a bit of a comeback next set as well. So pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, not a lot of surprise otherwise in the top eight. I mean, it's worth mentioning. Yeah, if we've got it here, it's mostly what you expect. Those two Thrawns we'll talk about in a bit, then a lot of Han 2s and a Cad Bane. So it's a lot of what we're seeing in the greater meta as well, if we want to flip over and talk about that a little bit.
Well, the one thing also to note though is
Yeah.
the top pawns were two pawn two ECLs, not blue.
Yeah.
Whereas usually it's been blue dominating. It was the Han 2 ECLs piloted by Sip and Benton that were the 2 and 3 of the regionals. So I just goes to show you that you can kind of like get away with both styles of Han 2, just like a Han 1 blue and a Han 1 green are also still very viable. So
Well, and I also think just kind of looking at the list, I almost feel like it's probably a bit of a meta play also of just assuming you're going to be playing a lot of other Han 2s, and that ECL can be advantageous in that instance. So that might have been also a part of what drove them to it. Just seeing the meta, knowing about a lot of that they're going to be seeing a lot of other Han 2s, and knowing that ECL gives them an advantage against the mirrors
that is
and
possible.
even the blue versions.
I do know that Sip actually was running a where'd it go? IG-11, I cannot be captured in his deck
Oh,
and
that's
his
fun.
sideboard. And that's a bit of a meta call for facing off against other Han 2 decks because he knows that
Yeah.
his opponents are going to be self-damaging, therefore he can just kind of finish them off with that card.
Yep.
So that's an interesting call to throw in there as well. So
Yeah. So very interesting. And yeah, I don't think Hantu is a very good leader, but don't feel like you're locked into Data Vault or Blue Force. There's a lot of options for him with the power levels he has. Um, I've seen some Han 2 reds actually popping up online here and there, which I think there's maybe some even breath in that too. But yeah, don't ever feel restricted. As I said, we like to talk about the greater meta. This is more focused on what you might be seeing when you're going to tournaments. Doesn't mean this is what you need to play. This is just
right.
what we're seeing most commonly.
That said, the other qualifiers that happened over this last weekend, which there wasn't that many of them, which is kind of to be expected because of the fact that the two major events were running. So a lot of places don't want to be running competing events at that point in time. But we
Yeah, we
did
had nine
see
total.
yeah, we did see
Just
quite a
very good.
spread of different leader combinations winning those ones, including the one that people say that can't get there, which is a Boba Data Vault deck. A lot of people run it, but it just has a hard time finishing that crossing line. And I
Hmm.
do know from watching this one that it happened to be this was a concede by the Han 1 green player, because as you see by the names, both members are of the baddest and Inferno 5 already had his invite, so he conceded to CJ so CJ could get his invite into Galactics coming up. So I'm not sure that he would have won against the Han one, but there you go. He was at least at the final table for that one as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I that's another one of those that I see the conversation about Boba not being able to get there. I think it might be right at the moment. I see what the case is, especially the decks he's up against. His indirect isn't quite enough to push there, and usually people can slow him down enough. I still think it's a very good deck, and it's getting some big help from the next set, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So don't write it completely off, but yeah, it might be a little down the next couple weeks. But
I'm going
it's a
to
contender going forward.
Yeah, going into this set, I had written off Boba Data Vault because I thought everything was going to have too much health and it wasn't going to be able to just be a valid deck anymore. And I was dead wrong on that one because it's still sticking around very strongly going forward. I think it's a great deck, honestly, for kind of like your not your beginner player to get into the competitive scene, but maybe like the next leg up as far as that deck
Mhm.
goes, because it does have some nuance that you have to be aware of and manipulate around. But for the most part, it's the play the thing, do the thing, and you're done for the turn.
Yeah,
And I think that's the biggest thing that holds it back is that if your opponent can anticipate what thing you're going to play, it's able to be worked around on a fairly easy basis. For the most part, it's if your card draw goes south on you in the Boba Data Vault deck, you're in a world of hurt. As long as you're hitting your curve exactly how you have to hit it, you're applying a world of hurt, is what it boils down
yeah,
to.
yeah. It can be a terrifying deck when it hits its cards. There's not much you can do, honestly. But if it doesn't hit its card, yeah, it does flounder a fair bit, and yeah, along with that, if you know the deck and you know how to shut it down, you can shut it down pretty hard. So again, still a very good deck. Still not a deck I would say I would be afraid of bringing to a tournament. If that's a deck you're good at, I would still bring it. It's still competitive. You've still got as much of a chance as I would say in most decks.
Yep.
Better than any that you haven't practiced. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's a solid deck. Again, it's gonna come down to matchups. If you get the right matchups, you're gonna do very very well with it. I'd say the
Yep.
biggest surprise for me over the weekend was this Hong Kong qualifier. Um, China, and it's only 14 players. I really would have expected there to be more players there. So maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's information I don't have, but that one surprised me.
I mean, that's been a lot of the PQs that they've those. I mean, those Taiwan, Hong Kong ones. They keep trying and they keep getting like 7, 8, 10 people. I don't think they haven't been able to get a player base
I don't know.
in East Asia, it seems like.
So moving on to a much more broader spectrum of analysis, we have here the archetype distribution over the last weekend, or is this a couple weeks? You tell me, Corey.
This would be over the last weekend, so we're getting the October 6th till the 12th. So this is all the latest data right now, just showing us what we really saw archetype wise in the top 8 this last weekend. And as you can see, the bulk of it has been a lot of Cad Bane. Cad Bane Tarkentown is a very good deck. So you see that doing very well, but you've got some up and comers that are popping up again. Again, mentioning Kira just keeps growing up to 4 top 8 appearances. Same with Gar Saxon, keeps showing up. Grand Admiral Thawne popping up. We had 4 Talls and Reds show up, so like they're still out there. They're still getting those top 8. So things are going well, and this is kind of showing you the spread. And I really like if you want to switch over, Joey, to the leader distribution. That's the one I
Well,
think is the most interesting. Oh,
sure, I'll
if
do
you
that in
want
a
to say
second,
something first.
but I wanted to point out that I do see my man Obi-Wan Kenobi from Twilight. There was a blue one that hit that top 8, and so
Yep.
there's another player that's on the same wavelength that I am.
One
So
Blue, one Poe Data Vault. Once again, we had a deck I was running in the past, Kazuda Security Complex. That one top aided as well. It's
nice.
also a very good deck. It's shields galore Kazuda, which can be a very annoying deck to play against.
All right, so switching over to the leader distribution, we had Cad Bane and Han 2 at the top. It's not giving us the breakdown as far as blue and green and everything else like that, but
No, this is just giving us the leaders,
yep.
because the previous
So
page was blue and green.
yep. So you got
So
your
yeah, you
Han
can see.
1, Gar Saxon, and then Kira Imp, Admiral Thrawn, Han Solo JTL, which is the pilot version, and then
Mhm.
Talzin. Or you're running up your top biggest ones. So basically, we're in the Han meta, guys. It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter what
21
Han you want
Hans.
to play. It's pick a Han and go to town. So
Yeah, that's not surprising. It'll be curious to see what happens. Again, rotation wise, once those big Hans go away, and Cad Bane, uh, these things change a lot. That's one thing I would say is a great thing to be keeping your eye on this coming set going into or throughout the next set is keep an eye on what in this set is JTL or LOF or what are they using? Is it SOP for the new set?
yeah, Secrets of Power.
Yeah. Yeah. So like what are the three what leaders are popping up from those sets specifically? Because those are ones to be looking at for going forward leaders since we got that rotation hitting. So I think it's interesting. It's again, this is what we've known. Really those especially the first two sets, Spark of Rebellion and Shadows were overpowered and a lot of their leaders were a little overpowered and they kind of dominate the meta. But we've also seen that Fantasy Flight is kind of just pulling back a little bit on the power levels of a lot of leaders. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out when we get to next get a set away.
Yeah. Looking under the bases, though, we have 19 data vaults.
Yep.
19. So it's a good third of the share of the decks out there. Whether or not the data vault decks are really converting is the question. Sometimes people don't care about those extra 10 cards, and sometimes those extra 10 cards really get in your way and make it to where you're not getting the cards that you absolutely have to have at the time you have to have them.
Yeah, we ended up at three of the winners were Data Vault of the weekend, followed by, and that was the top base, but it was right behind it was two Tarkin Towns and two 30 HP Cunnings. So, and that was the two Palpatines, if you have not guessed that one. The only Cunning in the whole list. And yeah, so it's again, it's what we know, it's what we've seen. The value of Data Vault is there, but is it overvalued sometimes as well? Potentially. That's I think there's an argument for that also.
Right. So the other thing to consider now is as we look forward, go back to the leader distribution, is can these leaders last into the next set? Or does their strength grow? Is it stalemated? Or is somebody going to rise up out of the ashes that hasn't been there before? I personally think that you've seen a rise of the uh, Thrawn 4 Data Vault in the current meta. I
Yep.
personally am thinking that Thrawn 4 Red is going to start making a huge increase at the start of this next meta, which is not even a leader
Mhm.
out of the next set at all. Um, it'll be interesting to see if any of the new leaders do come to rise. I think there's only a couple that are people talking about, but I mean, if you look at back at this Legends of the Force set, the biggest leaders that everybody was talking about was Talzin and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Those were the leaders to play as. Talzin made an impact, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, as strong as it was, has not really risen to claim their throne at all.
No, that one has not seen a. It's seen an improvement. I mean, I do think Obi Yellow has started to make a little bit of a bounce back, but I mean, it's just not. I don't think it's quite strong enough deck right now. But that's one I still think is worth keeping an eye on because I do think it's a good one. But yeah, it's tough sometimes when you're looking at those sets to really make a guess on what's going to be good and what's not. Like I'm still not confident myself on what I'm seeing in the new set, if there's anything that's that strong or not. But that's something we are looking forward to now, and I think it's worth discussing a little bit. I think that'll be for our third topic today, is we'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing and what we're kind of thinking for set six, and then going forward from there as well. So um I don't know if Joey, you wanted to pull up any specific cards. I mean, I will say the biggest one I think worth mentioning, and that a lot of people have mentioned, is Cinta. For those that aren't familiar, Cinta is a 6 cost plot card that, when played, you may attack with a unit. She is going to be a staple. I mentioned before where I said Boba Fett jump to light speed is not dead. She is one of the reasons Boba Fett is not dead. She's going to be a very powerful card in Boba Fett decks next set. Same with Luke Skywalker decks. I think Luke is going to abuse the heck out of her. So there's some space decks where I think that's going to be a big changer. So I think we're going to see yet again space decks, at least initially, are going to shoot up. That may get mitigated afterwards, but I think there's going to be a lot of power in space decks in the early meta, at least for next set. What are you seeing, Joey? Let you talk about a few things that you're thinking about.
Well, the biggest thing that I'm looking at in set six is how big of an impact plot or disclose is actually going to be having. If you kind of break that down to when Legends of the Force came out, it was okay, is the Force going to matter? Do we want to be building Force decks, or are we going to just ignore the Force mechanic altogether? And as you saw, with Towson winning Galactic Championships, that Force did come into play and it did matter, and it swung the meta quite dramatically in the long run. So now you basically have this juxtaposition of is it Force or is it not? And the other thing that I'm looking at is also with plot now, is that going to be the same thing? Because with these leader flips happening, it's you're getting a one off except for if you're going to try to run Crench or
Mhm.
Bale. So the first two leaders I'm looking at is Bale and Trench because I'm trying to figure out can I maximize and abuse the plot, which is the mechanic of this set. So I would be wanting to look at those two leaders first and foremost. One of them is the leader from the Secrets of Power. One of them is from a previous set that, by and large, hasn't seen very much play because it was like ho hum before. But now we might be in a different position.
Mhm.
The other thing is then disclose exactly how much information do you want to be giving to your opponent to actually make something happen? What is the power level of what you're getting versus what you're giving up? So far, I haven't been that impressed with the disclosed payoffs, I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, I fall in the same boat where, I mean, disclose is an interesting mechanic. Um, I I like the idea behind it. It's kind of neat. You showing your opponent certain cards to get some benefits, but then you're also giving them the advantage of knowing what you're holding. So it's got a nice pro and con to it. But yeah, I agree. I haven't seen a lot so far that has really excited me of disclose. And I've definitely seen a few that the disclose requirements are just so ridiculous. It's like, well, that's just not going to be playable. So yeah, disclose has been underwhelming to me so far. Uh plot plot has some good stuff to it. I think it's an interesting mechanic. It's got some neat pieces. It definitely plays into how Fantasy Flight has been talking about they want the game to go. They want to get those leader flip turns. They want to see you having a leader out and fighting back and forth. That's the game that they want, and that plot fits into. But yeah, a single use smuggle still feels to me like it's just, it's Timu smuggle. It's not, it doesn't feel quite as good when we already had something better in the past.
I don't know. I still think the plot mechanic is going to be interesting. I mean, one of the cards, you asked me specific cards, one card specifically that I think
Yeah.
is going to kind of be a little swingy for a flip turn is Chancellor Palpatine. I
Yeah.
think this card, whether you're playing villainy or heroic, I think this is just going to be an absolute monster of a card for your flip turn.
Mhm.
Because even at 5 resources to get 3 units put on the battlefield, 2 of them are Sentinels, which then protect your leader at that point in time. I think he is going to be seeing a lot of gameplay going forward, especially in like some aggro type decks. Um, the one of the other cards, I gotta find it real quick.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to like search while you can see what I'm doing, but uh, one of the other cards that I actually think will be huge for that. Let me go back and scroll down. Is going to be one that everybody's already seen, which is that Armor of Fortune card, which
Mhm.
is just a simple 2 cost card, but it's giving your leader 3 hit points off the get go. And that's alone just going to make you a little bit more resilient going forward. So, aggro decks, I mean, you don't really associate blue with aggro very much, but I think you could start to see some of that, especially with some of the grit things going forward. Um,
Yeah.
that this could actually see a lot more gameplay, and it's just a common card. I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is for me this set I have been more interested in the commons and uncommons than I have in the legendaries and the rares, which is a little bit of a bummer.
I mean,
So,
it's been an ongoing thing. I mean, that's another problem that I hope Fantasy Flight can start to turn around is making legendaries feel legendary. There's nothing worse than when you open a pack and you pull just some complete junk legendary. You're like, oh, great, and you're just sad. So that's something that I think they need to keep working on. They need to keep working on the power level of legendaries. There's been some good ones. I will highlight. I mean, Obi-Wan is insanely good. Like that is a legendary. When I see that, I go, yeah, that's a really good card, and it's going to be a staple of a fair number of decks, I think. So like things like that is how a legendary should feel. You should open a pack, get a legendary, be like, heck yeah, this is awesome, rather than be like, oh great, it's another one of what was the supremacy or something like that. You're like, oh yeah, great.
well, but that said, I mean, Supremacy did something that no other card in the game does, kind of thing. And that's
That's
what I
true.
think
Yeah.
that's what I think a legendary should do. A legendary should be a build around type card. It should be something that is doing something so unique that nothing else can even come close to doing that. And then that's what you want from that. It doesn't mean that what the legendary does is something that you want to do, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think there's a legendary that's going to be for everybody. I just want to see legendaries that like are like, holy crap, I definitely got to get my hands on that and then build a deck to make that work in what I'm going to try to do, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another great card that I brought up here is the Valiant Commando. I think this is going to bring heroic aggro back into the fold very strongly. This is
Yeah.
ironically a card that does something that no other card does. Um, in the sense that it's almost like a self-sacrificing unit to just push that extra envelope of damage going forward. There's a couple other cards that do trigger off of when they do damage to a base, but I mean, you're talking this is a 3 cost card that essentially can do 6 points of damage if it hits the base as a minimum. And a
Yeah.
lot of people have already been talking like you slap a heroic sacrifice going into this, and that's like bam, turn two or wait, so turn four, you're doing 8 damage to the base right there.
Yeah.
Because you can also do the 3 damage instead of defeating it from the heroic sacrifice, you're triggering its own ability instead. So that can just be huge. And then I think one of the other cards that kind of couples with that's going to be really good is where we go. The Oppression Breeds Rebellion. Again, both of these are also heroic cards, so now you can get back to using cards like uh, what's the what's the one that does the direct damage and then lets you reveal 4 cards? For a cause I
Her,
believe in.
yeah, for a cause. For a cause, we believe it. Yeah.
So for a cause I believe in, these will trigger that as well. But then this is potentially getting aggro decks some much needed card draw to fill their hands to
Hmm.
actually keep that pressure going. Because the biggest thing that aggro decks suffer from is burnout. I blow my wad on my first 5 turns. Now I have no hand, and you've stabilized, and I'm DOA. This
Yep.
allows me to keep on drawing into threats that are going to potentially keep on pushing that damage forward. And I think that this is going to see solid play in even Sabine Agrodeck still going
Yeah.
forward potentially. So that's kind of the thing that I'm
Well,
looking at is does this meta with the plots and the flipping bring back aggro into a much stronger presence than when we've seen it before?
I think worth mentioning on that also, and worth highlighting. Speaking of heroic aggro, that Kazuda card, which is an uncommon, which I love that the Kazuda's red card is a very good aggro card, a 4 cost that swings for 4/6, and if you're behind in resources, then it becomes a 6/6. So that's a beastly card. And with aggro, you don't need to keep resourcing past that 5 resources turn usually. So you're gonna stop, and he's gonna get big pretty quickly because, or he's gonna get that +2 because you're gonna fall behind in resources. So that I think is going to be a staple going forward as well. Like that was a great card. I was happy to see that.
And it's resistance, so you can potentially BD
It
88,
is.
untap, and attack again with it. So
Yeah, he's going in the Poe deck. I'm always looking. What goes into my decks? That's one that was like, oh, that goes in the Poe deck immediately. Yep. uh,
I
I
will
was
say
even
that
telling
that's.
you, Joey, that I think it actually replaces once rotation hits. I think that replaces the Poe unit within that Poe deck.
I don't think it's as
The
strong
Poe,
as the Poe unit, but
it's not
sure.
as strong. I'm saying it's not that as good, but it's the replacement because it rotates with shadows. So it's still something strong on the ground to put down as a threat.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I've seen from Secrets of Power as a set in its entirety so far is I see onesie twosie cards that
Yeah.
go into decks that are already current meta staples that kind of shore up some of those like little like weaknesses that the deck had kind of thing, or give them an extra little tool that maybe they can like plug away at.
Hmm.
But with so I don't see the meta changing a great deal going forward. One of the best examples I can give you though is, let's see where to go, is that little one cost ship that's the villainy yellow one. Here we go. The
Yeah.
Screeching TIE Fighter. I mean, this is a great example of you already have the Vader yellow deck, that this thing just slots right into that, and it's giving you a lot of great value because you're essentially upgrading your one cost 2/1 villainy TIE Fighter that was just a vanilla 2/1 for one.
Hmm.
And now you get this nice little on attack ability that can take away restore from your opponent's ground units so that you can actually keep
Uh-huh.
that damage going. So this small little upgrade might not seem like a lot, but it definitely can allow that Vader deck to come back into the fold a lot stronger than it used to be. So, especially since we've seen so many restore cards coming out in this next set in blue, there's a plethora of them.
There's a
So,
lot of restore happening. Yeah.
yeah. So these little kind of onesie twosie upgrades and secrets of power, I think, is what's going to allow the diversity to remain in the meta. And then you're just going to have to see, okay, what leaders have we been able to develop something new off of or bring back? And like I said, I think the Thrawn 4 red is going to be gross and a threat that people are going to have to deal with going forward.
Yeah. No, I agree on that. Yeah, that one's going to be a problem deck for sure. I would say, I think to close out this conversation, I think the last thing I wanted to say is there any specific leaders in this new set that have been revealed so far that are really calling to you, that you think is going to be interesting, that you think has a lot of potential? What have you been looking at in the new leaders we've seen?
Um, as far as the leaders go, nothing screams at me at the moment. The biggest thing that I'm looking at is I've always been a bit of a combo player,
Hmm.
and are things doing something that the others haven't been able to do? I like the concept of Mon Mothma, but I wonder if we're still stuck with the uh, Hera Sundula problem of, yeah, you get things like that aren't cost like no aspect penalty for them, but at the same time, it's, are they really doing anything at that point in time? You couldn't get Hera to really run. Bale's interesting, but I think
Yeah, Mon Mothma,
Bale.
I'll say that. I'll just agree with you real quick. Mon Mothma is going to really be dependent on once we see the full set and we know if we have enough officials for it to be good.
Right. The one thing that I think needs to be kept in mind is spy tokens are officials. So
Yep.
every card that mentions an official affects spy tokens or is affected by or triggered by spy tokens. So that's something that a lot of people I think are overlooking when they're looking at these cards that call out officials. For instance, there's a card that says if you control three officials, draw three cards or something. Spy tokens count. So if you had like a
Yeah.
person that generated two spy tokens and one turn, the very next turn, great. Now you're drawing three cards or whatever. So keep that kind of stuff in mind because keywords and traits will matter going forward.
Very
Bale is
much so. Yeah.
interesting to me, but I think with the fact that his cost is this discard two cards from your hand, I think that cost is too steep
Yes.
because I think there is quite a few times when you're gonna be like, oh, I draw my two cards for the turn, and if I resource anything, I can't flip my leader now.
Hmm.
And it's, or if my opponent discards cards out of my hand, well, great, now they've bricked me flipping my leader. It also potentially pigeonholes him into having to be green red to utilize that base that allows you to draw a card whenever he flips, just to offset that a little bit. I just wonder if there's enough draw card in this game to make his flipping multiple times in the game an actual feasible threat. Because otherwise, I just don't. I think he's an overhyped leader at that point in time.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat of I think he's a cool idea. But I agree. I don't think there's enough card draw right now to make him viable. We'll see. I mean, and there could be more card draw coming with this with the rest of the set. We don't know. We haven't seen it all, but at the moment, just looking at what we have and what he can play, I just don't think there's enough to make it doable. But it's a cool idea. It's something different, which I do think is a lot of fun. It's something new and different that Fantasy Flight has not done before. Will it work? Who knows? But I am applauding anytime they can be creative on these leaders and what they do and how they deploy.
Right. I think the other hype one that people have most recently is Sabe. I think that's how you say her name.
Yes, Sabe.
Um, I think she's Thrawn 1 for heroes. She's just a
Yeah.
different way of looking to the top card of your opponent's deck. I think the amount of times you're actually going to be able to interact with that top card are not going to be enough to make her truly like breaking the game kind of a thing. I know a lot of people are looking at that Obi-Wan card. Oh, look, I can set up the card that I'm going to actually play on your turn. A lot of that's going to be timing with resources and making sure that,
Yeah.
look at how many times like Thrawn 1 looks at the top card. Oh, it's not the one that you want. Therefore, you can't actually tap down the opponent's unit. Oh, look, I set up your two cards, but I don't have enough resources to play them. So screw me, kind of thing. It's like, I don't know if that's going to actually pan out the way people want it to. It gives you information, which Thrawn 1 has always done, and we just don't see Thrawn 1 being played. So I'm still speculative on whether or not there's going to be enough support for her ability to kind of take off.
Yeah, I'm not I'm I'm a little more on her. I think she does seem like a fun one. The main reason I like her more is yes, I agree. I don't think her leader side is that powerful. It's good, it's nothing amazing. I do think there is value though in just being able to cycle, look at your opponent's top two cards and get rid of one of them. There is value in that of being able to kill. I don't want to see you get this, and just kill it. So there's good in that, and I mean, her leader side I think is great. Looking at your hand, basically being a Bazine, uh, awesome. Every time she hits you, it's a Bazine hit. So I think that brings more value to her, that how good her leader unit side is.
Right. The other big one that people are hyped about is DJ, just because he's got
Yeah.
this fun, unique ability of like playing what is it, the Cups game. I'm hiding my guy, and you're gonna like kind of guess which. Well, you would know which one it
Clown
is,
cars.
but it's just like
You make
the
your clown cars. Yeah.
yeah, a Jack in the Box, a clown car, whatever you want to call it, like that. I think he's got a fun little combo if you can pull it off with evacuate. You
Hmm.
hide a bunch of people under your own guys, and you evacuate, and all of a sudden all your guys are rescued. And oh, by the way, they're ready now. Have a nice day. Um, but again, it might just be like a one trick pony that does it work? Sure. Does it work all the time? Probably not. So it'll be interesting on what win plays you can combine with him, how like resource cheaty you can get with him. There's a few tricks I've heard about playing with him. He's intriguing that I'd want to kind of mess with him, but I think the other one that people are potentially
I mean,
under.
I'll chime in really quick on that one before you go to the next one. I mean, I am building a DJ deck. I'm a double yellow player. We've talked about this before. I was a Boba Cunning player from the very beginning. I love it. I love double yellow. I think the fact that you just get double yellow with him by default with him, and then add another color, which I'm leaning red at the moment, but I'm still messing around with some different builds, and until we've seen the final set, won't know for sure. But I love that aspect alone, and I think that makes him probably a pretty good leader for this next set. I will just say in advance because I think there is enough support in neutral yellow along with the double yellows, and then also neutral whatever other color you pick to make a good deck. I will also highlight that I think he drops off significantly once we hit rotation. The second we rotate, I don't think he becomes playable anymore. At least until we get a broader card base of neutral cards and stronger double yellows. Losing Cunning alone is probably going to be the biggest hit of anything for this deck because Cunning is huge, and that is going to be what helps drive this deck for performing well. And be prepared. You're going to be seeing a lot of Cunning probably next set. So be ready for it and know how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah, I do agree that I think the next set is going to bring Cunning back into the. I mean, beyond what Han 1 has already basically brought back in because of Force Throw going away. But I think Cunning is going to make a big return because I think most of the Cunning leaders are where you're seeing a lot of your interest in this next set so far. And a lot of the Cunning
Mhm.
cards are actually kind of interesting to see how they're going to play out. I think rotation is far enough away that I wouldn't put too much emphasis on rotation at the moment. I would just focus on what you can do with the card pool that you have. After this next set, whatever decks you're building, you need to be cognizant of how many cards you're in your deck that are going to rotate out to know whether or not that deck would be viable after that point. Because unlike a lot of decks where they can like kind of transcend, like I said, oh, I'm taking my deck from five and I'm just adding a couple of these cards from Secrets of Power into it, and then it's going to grow and be better, kind of thing. That's where you might fall off and not be able to do that going from six into seven. But I think that's what 4 or 5 months away. I wouldn't worry too much about that right now.
No, yeah, it's not the immediate future. This is me really thinking further in the future and just trying to think about not just obviously the PQs and your competitions for next set, but also going forward, what decks are good to start practicing on? What do you want to start preparing for that you think might have some good potential going into the next into rotation? So I think that's always worth just having at the front of your mind is what's a deck that can be strong that doesn't rely as heavily on those first three sets?
The other thing that I wanted to point out here was the C3PO leader. A lot of people have been dogging on it, how it's terrible and it's not going to be any good and everything else like that.
I mean,
Uh,
it's annoying. I'll give you that. It's
well, I'm actually looking at it for a different perspective. It is a four flip leader that's a 1/6, and you're thinking, okay,
Mhm.
stat wise, that's terrible when you're looking at most average is like a 2 5 for a four flip. But
Yeah.
I want to bring up two cards that exist that I think makes this potentially more valuable, and that would be Pelimoto and Babu Freak. Because he is a droid,
Mhm.
and he is the only droid leader that we currently have. No, I digress. We do have what's the set one? The 5/4, the IG,
Oh,
right?
IG-88
IG
or
88.
IG-11
It's
or
IG
no
11,
88.
yeah.
It's 88.
Whatever.
I
The
can't remember.
5/4 that gets raid based off
It's
of
an
more
IG.
units.
Just go with that. And
So
yell at me in the comments, please.
but he also has a lower health and a higher attack. So
Yeah.
whereas Pelimoto can now give your C3PO experience, and Babu Freak makes him swing for 6 or 7 on his flip turn,
Yeah.
that could be a lot of pressure adding up, kind of thing. So it's not so much. I mean, I always look at leaders as one of two things, right? Is it their leader ability on their front, or is it their unit side that you're looking at for getting that advantage, kind of thing? And I think C3PO is ironically more so as a unit, he's probably better than he is as a leader himself. And that's because of his keywords and his cost to come into play. I'm not saying the deck with him is going to be good. I'm just saying don't count your chickens until they hatch, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I will not be playing a 3PO deck. I'll leave that to you. And then I'll just yell it the whole time and for you just being absolutely exhausting the whole time.
All I gotta say is if I make a deck that makes Babu Freak the highlight and our Portland
That's
crew doesn't play it, I'm gonna be sorely disappointed.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. But yeah, overall, I can't say I've been excited for anything I've seen, but I've definitely seen things that I think have potential. I've seen things that get added to new decks. I'm not seeing a new build of anything with these new leaders that I'm that hyped about, but we're still not fully there yet. I think we have what 160 revealed or so far.
No, there's about
What did they
198
reveal?
revealed, I think. So
198 out.
you're probably about another 120 away. No, So
No,
probably about
that's
another
for sure.
70 to 80 away. I think there's
Okay,
268 or something
so
like that in the set.
still got a bit more to go, and especially we haven't seen many of the legendaries. Like those are the ones they hold out on. So hoping to see
Oh,
some
we've actually
exciting
seen quite a few
legendaries.
of those. So
Yeah, we've seen some. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think there's definitely more of those to come. So we'll see what's coming. But yeah, it's I mean, it's 2 weeks. It's like 2 weeks away at this point, isn't it? It's coming up soon.
pre-releases are getting announced and scheduled out. So check your local game
Yeah,
stores if you haven't already, and try to get your pre-releases in and locked down.
crazy, absolutely crazy. It's coming up so soon.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do us for the Sunday summary. So hopefully you got some information and you can look forward to seeing some of the set six stuff from us because we're going to start doing a little bit of the demoing and practicing and play testing of that stuff coming up. So
Yeah.
until next time, we'll see you.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Fish?
Yeah.